you have a group project and you're putting in the time and the hours and you're setting up the meetings and going and people aren't even showing up. That's what this has been like thus far. And yes, I clickbaited the crap out of this using Asmongold Xaryu. Before we get into that, what's going on, guys? My name is Steven with Level Up MMO, and I want to say up front, this is an early reaction. This is just me sharing my experience as we head into the night of day 3 on the server Titan, the US West server, with the likes of Asmongold Xaryu, BDLG, Redbyrd, and more. I will be pointing out some of the flaws and the problems that I have with this, but there will also be some positives in here. So just work with me through this. I'm probably not going to really edit this too much and throw a bunch of gameplay on there. This will be mostly a talking head one because it is really just me sharing my thoughts and opinions on how this event has gone thus far. I will also say I will probably do another one of these later on in the event or at the end of the event to discuss, did things get better? Did things change? Did they get worse? Things like that. So hopefully you guys will enjoy it. Hopefully you will share your own thoughts in the comments below or come let me know on stream at twitch.tv/heartbreaker_TV. But without further ado, let's talk about it. So we're going to get into it initially with what perceptions I had up front. So this was positioned as a contest, a competition between these servers. Now, some people were really confused early on, and even on launch day, some people thought that we were competing against each other on the server. And so it wasn't super clear, but it is what it is. Ultimately, I think people figured out we are server versus server. This did lead to some weird problems, which we'll get into later with the whole PvP stuff, but overall, server versus server, but it's competition. That's what this was supposed to be, is a competition where you are trying to reach the next set of objectives faster than the other servers and earning your viewers or your community's drops before the others can get them. And in terms kind of moving people towards your own streams, because if they've already got the first set of drops, then with the second set and you got them before the other guys. So with it being a competition and server versus server, you would think the servers would be driven to those goals. They'd be really working on those objectives. You would also assume that the captains of the event that are being paid by Amazon would be driving people towards those goals. They would be coming up with plans and letting people know, hey, we really need to chop down these trees. We really need to mine these things. Hey, let's meet up over here to get the PvP kills. Let's do... That's what you would expect, right? Again, they're the captains. They're the ones driving the ship, recruiting the player, so on and so forth. And now I guess I should mention that the way that it opened up was 500 players per captain on the server. So that's 1,500 total. There were 3 main captains and there were co-captains, but they didn't get extra. It was just 500 at the top and they trickled down. I ended up getting one through Redbyrd, gave it to Key, and then Key invited me, and that's how I ended up on the server. So it should be 1,500 total. So now that we've talked about the perception, let's talk about what actually happened. So instead of keys being given out ahead of time and things being kind of structured or planned, keys were being given out the day of, even after the launch had started. So we're already at a disadvantage, right? Other people have most likely given out their keys. And again, I don't know every other server situation. I just know once I looked at the numbers that we are the worst one in terms of player count and things like that. I know that, for instance, and it was very kind of him, Asmongold gave me extra keys last night that he had from the first day. So at the end of day 2, there were still keys available from the pre-launch section. Those 500 for him, he gave me some. I immediately gave them out to people in my community, and then we got them in, and they've been grinding because I set that bar. I said, if you're gonna jump in, I need you to do the objectives. I need you to try to really put in some time and do it, because that's the whole point. And so very kind of him to give them to me and to reach out and let people know they still had some, but this is really late, right? Like, these people are now behind. So while we're on objective set 2 and we have to be doing things like mature trees, they're just getting started. They haven't even leveled that up yet. When we're supposed to be doing star metal, they're 0 on mine. You have to get to 100. That takes a lot of time. And so we're further behind. And as I mentioned before, we are still really short in terms of total player count. We've been about 200 behind the next server, the US East server, and then we're 300 behind the South American server. Most of the time I look at the analytics, it's too late for EU, so I can't really compare to that. But they'll still have 150 people on at 4 or 5 a.m. their time. So I think that they're probably also beating us in terms of overall player count. And in something where it is a competition and we are supposed to be doing these things together as a server, when you have 200 less people driving those goals up, those objectives forward, you're going at a much slower pace, and we are quickly falling to the end or the bottom of the pack. I talked about the PvP stuff earlier. We also had just a ton of people who seemingly got into the server, didn't understand the objective or anything like that, or simply didn't care. And these were mostly green players on the server. So through Xaryu's invites, and I don't know if, from what I can tell, he's not really guiding his people either. And again, not a knock at them. I mean, him and Asmongold, they're getting paid their checks, and maybe they weren't told to push these objectives or anything like that. I don't know their situation, what their deliverables are for their contracts or anything like that. I just know that I haven't really seen them pushing people to do these objectives. They just kind of gave out their keys on a whim. I think you just had to join a Discord for Xaryu and like put in for one and you can get it. I don't even know. I mean, people can be getting the keys and not even own the game, right? So, and again, when you're inviting 1,500 people, you can't vet everybody. But Greens had a lot of people that on day one, there were no PvP objectives. And as far as we knew, there might not be any because they said they didn't want to focus on wars or anything like that with this and not to expect it. But Greens were out there just killing everybody running the PvP missions. We had to do PvP missions, but we didn't have to kill enemy players. And so to have them continuously gatekeeping these sorts of things was really, really annoying. You just be running around trying to quest, or you're trying to level up faster so you're getting your 10% bonus, and the Greens weren't doing the objectives. They weren't running them themselves. They were literally just trying to kill people who were trying to push the server forward. I think that drove some people away, and I think Green got a lot of flack for it, and they also were failing on the map. Purple owned like 5 or 6 territories. Green had one and Yellow had one. They weren't doing anything, and we gave Yellow money to buy one. It was very evident that Yellow and Green's leadership was not getting the right people, was not pushing them in the right direction, and now Purple is being held back by it. We're being told, oh, you know, you shouldn't win that war for the Green territory because then Green won't be on the map, sort of thing, right? They'll have one territory left, all that sort of jazz. So it's kind of impacting everything because things weren't done correctly at the top level and worked their way down. Now that's a lot of negatives, right? And I want to say that I've met some cool creators. There are definitely people on these servers that are passionate and trying to drive people to, hey, let's all group up for fishing and make sure you're doing this and that, but it needs to come from the top down, and it's not. And so I've kind of realized that, you know, overall it's been cool, it's been fun, I've got to meet people, but I think a regular fresh start experience probably would have been better, because what you essentially have are two camps of people who are just like, oh, who cares, just play. And you're kind of like, well, why did you get a key? Why did you ask for one? Why did you ever to join a server that has objectives and specific goals if you don't care about them and you don't want to do them? And then you have the other people that joined for the purpose of it, and they're not doing the same things. So you have people who are staying behind to grind out star metal mining to get the objective, and you have the people who are just flying up to level 60 for no reason, really. And sure, you could say, oh, if they get there, then they can turn around and do the other things, but I don't think a lot of these people are. They're just gearing out their characters. They're just like looking forward to when the server goes open in 2 weeks. But if the server's in a really bad place, I think a lot of people will leave. It will be a mass exodus. And I'm not even sure that I want to stay with the way that it is right now. And I think that there will have to be a really, really big change. You also have to think that the people who joined because Asmongold is here, if he doesn't keep playing on that server, those people will probably leave too, and Yellow will fall even further behind. So I think a regular fresh would probably be a funner experience for me personally, because I'm a competitive person. And so I joined with the idea of doing the objectives and grinding these things out and watching my server just allow itself to fall behind, and people just basically saying, oh, who cares? Don't worry about it. Like, just, you know, don't worry about the guys PvPing, just unflag. But it's like, but we have to do the objectives. So they're kind of hindering our own server's growth. And so I don't really like that, but that's just a me thing. And I did try to bring it up in the creator Discord, and when it was basically just felt like the odd man out. Like, people were just like, oh, it's no biggie. Like, you'll get there when you get there. Like, again, it was positioned as this is a competition, you want to get there first, but on the back end, it's really just like, just play the game and do whatever. In which case, I do think other servers would have been more enjoyable, because you would have been playing at your own pace, focusing on the things you wanted to focus on instead of giving your time and effort into objectives. And it took me back to college or even high school, when you have a group project and you're putting in the time and the hours and you're setting up the meetings and going, and people aren't even showing up. That's what this has been like thus far, and it's really dampened the experience, for me at least. So as I said, there might be an update later on, and I do want to also say that the whole experience of the game has been better. The level 1 through 25 revamp has been really cool. I like everything that they've done. Playing through the game now with the systems that they have in place that I didn't get to experience when I first started has been fantastic. The game is in a much better place. It's running well for me right now, which is great. So I want to say that I'm glad I did start over on this. I just think that this hasn't been done in the best way, and it's also just been kind of confusing with the way that they positioned it and then the way that it's being run and dealt with. It's not a competition on our server, at least. I mean, and that's the other thing, is maybe the death server, which is the East one, maybe they're grinding and their leaders are really pushing, but like, then they win, right? Or the South American server or the EU server. I don't know what those are like, but I can tell you there is barely a competition here on Titan. And so I've decided that I just have to lay back, relax, not focus on doing the objectives as much, just level up my character, do some stuff here and there. I've still been trying to help level up weapons and things, which is one of our current objectives, to reveal places on the map, which is another one. And I was working on getting my mining up as well so I can help with the star metal, but it's definitely going to fall back a little bit more and go up more of a back burner position. And I'm just going to try to enjoy my experience here playing with people and getting through another character leveled up to 60. So there it is. I hope it wasn't too ranty or complaining, although I mean it basically was. Just wanted to share my thoughts. Thank you all for checking it out. If you have any thoughts of your own, again, let me know down in the comments below. And of course, swing by the stream, twitch.tv/heartbreaker_TV, and let me know what you think. Happy to hear about it. And of course, as always, good luck in your adventures.